Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Gaming Unpopular Opinions. How's MAGWest going so far? Good, good. Yeah, my name is Bryce.
I'm Griffin.
This is Griffin. He, him pronouns.
They, them pronouns, please.
Yeah, you don't need to remember that much. We're not really important here. We are here for you guys. The way this panel works, one by one, each of you are going to come up, or whoever wants to come up is going to come up, stand at that microphone over there, and give whatever unpopular gaming opinion you have. So some rules and guidelines we have here. Speakers will have 3 minutes each. It might not sound like much, but trust me, it's a lot longer than you think it is. Audience members, respect the speaker. They might say something you don't agree with. That's what we're here for, you know, be respectful. It's okay to disagree with them, just be respectful about it. So this is Gaming Unpopular Opinions. We do encourage you to give opinions about gaming, but if it's something else nerdy, maybe movie, TV show, anime, what have you, that's okay too. We're not gonna like enforce it or anything, but gaming is encouraged. Give spoiler warnings if you're gonna talk about things with spoilers. Let anyone who doesn't want to hear it vacate the room or cover their ears or whatever. Just give warning about that. Try to keep your unpopular opinions about media, about the games. Try not to attack people, be it like developers, fans of the games, actual people like that. Try to just keep it criticism about the media. And let's not bring like real world issues, political stuff, any sensitive topics into this. We're here to have a good time. Keep it light, keep it just about games. And absolutely no hate speech. That will not be tolerated. We will ask you to sit down and possibly just leave. So yeah, depends. Yeah, we will not tolerate that. With all that said, do we have anyone who would like to come up first?
If you have a hot take, just go ahead and raise your hand and I can call on you and you can come on up. And if you don't, we can all just sit here. No, Bryce, do you have any unpopular opinions about gaming?
Gosh. I feel like I have a lot, but probably one of my more controversial opinions is I was not a big fan of Resident Evil 4. I really liked the old style of the games, and I felt like Resident Evil 4 brought the series in a whole new direction that I was not really a fan of. Like Resident Evil 4, it was a fine game, but not what I wanted from a Resident Evil game. And like Resident Evil 5 and 6, a lot of people are a lot more mixed on those ones than Resident Evil 4, but like 4 set the groundwork. This is where 4 was going. If you didn't want a more action-focused Resident Evil, if you don't like 5 or 6, I don't know why you like 4. That's my take. Original Resident Evil remake is my favorite one. I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion. A lot of people love that one, but that's probably one of my big gaming unpopular opinions.
Well, thank you for your take. Does anyone else have any takes that they want to come up and share? No? All right.
I see a hand.
You're very brave for going first. We got a mic here.
Yes.
And you got 3 minutes.
I don't think there's a lot of competition for the time at the moment. But also,
yeah.
It may even be 3 minutes and
like
2 seconds.
If you're on a roll and it goes over 3 minutes, we can keep you going.
Because if they like what I say, then it's not unpopular and I failed.
Yeah, we run into that issue a bit, but have at it. As soon as you start talking, we will start.
I am an Elder Scrolls fan. I'm sorry. The quest marker is terrible.
Yeah.
Boo. No.
Fast travel needs to be done in a limited manner. I played Morrowind and it blew my mind as a teenager, and then I played Oblivion, and there's this little thing up in the top of the screen that points me exactly where I want to go. They got lazy. They didn't have to tell any stories. They didn't have to give you directions. You didn't have to discover anything. You had a GPS to go exactly where you wanted, to whatever objective you needed, and there was no more adventure. Now, fast travel, I'm okay with to an extent because they had that in Morrowind and you could teleport, but there were limited places and you could use the Mage's Guild to transport from, one place to another. But it's sort of like, the last mile in public transit. You still have to walk someplace, which was kind of cool, And I think with Skyrim and Oblivion, they ruined it by making it so you could just go anywhere at any time and skip any danger in between. There was no more risk. Once you had gone someplace, the adventure was done, and you were on a collectathon or other such game. And I don't know, I think that the collectathons were done about 30 years ago or 25 years ago.
See, I understand your complaints about fast travel, but that's more of like a band-aid on the real problem. Is the fact that traversing a lot of times, especially in open world games, is just not fun. You can't complain about fast travel when all these dungeons are like, not even dungeons, it's the fact that the overworld itself is not fun. This is why Elden Ring did it the best, the fact that they give you torrent within like the first maybe 30 minutes of the game. You already have a mount, you have a way to travel fast. Even fast travel in that game is for the most part, I think, all right. There's still plenty of incentive. I mean, with the Elder Scrolls game design in general, I think they just got lazy. I don't know why anyone would be excited for Starfield because it's still going to be on the same engine using many of the same design principles. I mean, it's more the fact that Bethesda as a company just hasn't innovated since Morrowind.
I agree. And I think you hit the nail on the head because why do you want to skip an environment if it's beautifully made and well planned out? The only reason you want to skip it is if it's boring, just like you said. And Bethesda has kind of failed on that in the last 20 years. Now, the next gripe I have.
You got 10 seconds.
Level scaling enemies. You walk into a city, you gain some levels with training. You come back out, there's a Minotaur Lord there to smash you. And it's just like, no one was expecting that. I wasn't expecting that. But I think it also kind of ruins the game because I think of an enemy as a gatekeeper to a new area. And you have to train, you have to grind, you have to learn. But if you're just going to keep scaling the enemy so that all of my equipment and skill gains are basically meaningless and boil down to almost cosmetics in the end, it's not fun for me to try and attain it. It's just changing the color or the scheme or the decoration on the same action, and it's not anything new. Again, I'm really ripping on Bethesda here, so.
Yeah.
Time up?
All right, yeah.
All right. That
you
is
are
time.
definitely over time. Do we? Yeah, thank you for that. Definitely agree with some of those. Man, I remember playing Morrowind, and some of those quests, the quest givers literally give you directions, like, oh, it's just past that city, and look for like a tree and a rock and all of these things, and it was kind of neat, but some of those directions, man, I did get really lost. So I don't know. They have pros and cons to them. Do we have anyone else who would like to come up and give a take?
In the yellow.
Come on up. Thank you for volunteering.
Let's see how this goes. The Kingdom Hearts story isn't actually that convoluted, as a lot of people say.
Whoa.
A lot of what confusion happens is skipping through cutscenes or skipping through games that cause a lot of confusion, which is fair.
Explain it right now.
We'll explain the whole thing right now. There's a lot to go through. I don't think I have 3 minutes to explain it all.
Like it's a little bit complicated.
I said there's a lot, not that it's complicated necessarily.
I mean, you have like.
Let's not heckle the speaker. let him talk, please.
Mostly, if you go through each through line through each game, it is able to be followed through and not like a mess. Does that make it good or kind of dumb? I may agree with you on that. But is it necessarily convoluted and unable to be understood? I don't think that's necessarily true.
You got like 2 minutes.
I mean, you
left.
can stop here if
Will
that's
you-
all you got to
will
say.
Will
but-
you explain the plot?
Like
All of it. Go.
all of it? Okay. So, sorry.
You don't-
Okay. there is a kid named Sora. He gets a magic weapon that helps him defeat things that are called the Heartless that release hearts. And at the end of the game, you fight this guy called Ansem that was doing weird magic voodoo stuff to allow the Heartless to be born or to manifest throughout the worlds.
Okay, and why is Mickey Mouse there?
Mickey Mouse, because it's a Disney game as well. That's the reason he's there.
And
It's getting too convoluted for me.
It's kind of a strange franchise at its inception, isn't it? But yeah, I think a lot of the confusion really is just because of the way the games are released. Just, they have all of these different titles that are like, what is it, 358 over 2 days or something, and Dream Drop Distance. And they have all these names that it makes it very unclear what they're actually about, and it makes it unclear if they're actually like important to the story. But it turns out all of them are important to the story,
unfortunately,
despite being like spread out across all sorts of platforms and like handhelds and everything like that. Things that people don't really necessarily associate. Like, if the first 2 games come out on PlayStation 2 and one in between comes out on Game Boy Advance, a lot of people don't expect the Game Boy Advance game to be like plot critical, I think. Even though it turns out.
That is something that definitely hurt its ability to be understood. Each game was put on different consoles for I don't know what reason, and that makes it hard to understand. But be able to play the games nowadays, because they're all on the same collection, would make it a lot easier.
Well, Final Mix does exist for like PlayStation 4 and Xbox.
Yeah.
That's a lot of games to go
It
through.
it is long.
Some of them aren't even games now, they're just cutscenes you watch.
Mm-hmm.
All right, 3 minutes is up. If you...
Do you have any final notes?
I don't think I did. No.
You said your piece?
I said
All right,
my piece.
thank
All
you
right.
for coming up.
Yeah, good job.
Kingdom Hearts, not that complicated after all. You just have to actually play all of them. That's the hard part.
Gaming hot takes. I see you in the black t-shirt. Yes.
Come on up.
You got 3 minutes.
All right.
Let's hear it.
You know what era of gaming that I miss? Like the early 2000s,
Mm-hmm.
during the period where there were more MMORPGs than just Final Fantasy XIV and World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't get me wrong. Like, when you want to play a new MMORPG, back then, you would go to some kind of like website that consolidates like hundreds of them, thousands of them even. And 99% of them were absolute like dog, whatever. Yeah. Whatever.
What level were you in Ragnarok Online?
Look, I did not play that technically.
That type
I
of game?
literally did not play that actually. But, you know what? It was fun. Like being able to find like the most generic Korean MMO, like what's the most generic name? Dragon's Blade or whatever. And like it's just a perfectly generic MMO. I don't know if even like 100 man hours was spent on making those games, but there were so many of them. There were so many to explore, and you just like bring along friends. And sometimes, just sometimes, you might be able to find a diamond in the rough. And then it's just a magical moment. And that's the fun. Okay, don't get me wrong. That's the fun part, but also exploring the like bad games are also really fun. And now there's nothing. It's just an empty void. You got 2 options: World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV, and
What about Guild Wars?
Do people play Guild Wars?
I mean that's that's Elder Scrolls Online.
Elder Scrolls Online does exist, yeah.
So if I had the choice between like maybe just like 2 good MMORPGs or like 1,000 bad ones, I choose 1,000 bad ones.
Wow.
It's like, like it has a certain charm to it. Like there's no finesse at all, but like just Dragon's Nest, like not Dragon's Age. That's actually an RPG. Like Guild Legacy, and you can tell like there's no like creative energy behind them all, but like. That's the magic of it. That's the magic of it.
It's good because it's bad.
It's good because it's bad. It's good because you had friends to play it with.
Yeah.
And those kinds of bad games promote making friends, getting together to overcome the badness of the game together.
Also, Maple Story is still a thing.
Is it still? I mean, yeah.
Maple
that's like-
Story outlived
community,
Maple Story
yeah.
2, and I find that hilarious.
That's so funny. That's just a testament to like, just like the staying power of like just like an RPG that isn't 100% refined, but it had that charm, it had that magic, and that's why. I think that's why. Anyway, that's.
All right, 3 minutes is up.
That was beautiful.
Thank you for your take. I definitely spent some time in like the late 2000s going through a bunch of like weird random MMORPGs.
I was on Neopets. So.
Neopet's not a bad choice.
Yeah.
So
Do we have another hot take? I see you. Yes.
Oh, another thing about the MMORPGs, there's a video on YouTube that came out like almost 10 years ago that I think is called like How World of Warcraft Ruined MMOs Forever or something like that. And it's definitely worth a watch. Would recommend everyone watch it.
All right. So first off,
You got the mic there.
YouTube. No, I'm going to talk to YouTube first.
Okay.
So over in the indie booth, there's a game called Snackerfice. YouTube would be like perfect models for it, so you definitely need to come by. Yeah.
Models?
Yeah.
Will
Come by,
will
do
they
a
pay
photo.
us?
What's that?
Oh, will they pay us?
Yeah. What's the rate?
Is this paid modeling?
Maybe. You have to talk to Dan.
Okay, we'll check
But
it out.
definitely come by and check it out. It suits your style. All right. So anyway, my name's
Yeah,
Chris.
let's hear the hot take.
Yeah. Here's the hot take. Okay, my name's Chris. I am the lead game designer for Kobold Tactics. Come and check us out over in the indie booth. But here's my hot take: kill player characters. The more a player loves their character, the more they need to die.
So is this for like tabletop RPGs or?
Tabletop RPGs, not just tabletop RPGs, but in any game, you should strive to make it difficult for player characters to stay alive. Right? I'm not joking here. Okay.
The darkest dungeon philosophy.
The darkest dungeon philosophy. Exactly. Was that? Not just roguelikes, but tabletop games too. Any game where you have a character that has a substantial investment in that character staying alive, the more investment that a player has in keeping that character alive, the more that you should attempt to kill that character off. Yeah.
So how do you feel about Game of Thrones?
Game of Thrones? Hey, you know what? I can appreciate Game of Thrones. I had to go away from it because the books strayed too far from the show, and unfortunately, they're never going to finish the books. But it is what it is. So, but yes, I am a firm believer in killing off player characters, and the more that a player enjoys their character, the more time that they put into it, the harder I try to do it. What's that? Because it encourages growth, okay? So, you laugh, but it encourages growth. So whenever a player loses a character, right, I believe that every player, they put a little piece of their soul into every character that they create, right? And so whenever you take that away from them, then they have to go and they have to find a way to reclaim that. They have to find a way to grow and do better the next go around, right? And so it's important that we occasionally attempt to remove that little piece from them, so that they have to go out and they have to seek it again.
Does it count? Because I had my character die in D&D, and I had to make a B character, and then the fight would go on this like huge side quest to find an item to bring him back to life. Does that count?
Yeah. So I mean,
Or Feywilds?
with D&D and any tabletop role playing game, you always have the resurrection spells that can bring them back to life. In those cases, I actually like to encourage my players to deny the resurrection spell, because if you're familiar with D&D, a player or a character actually has a choice as to whether or not they want to come back to life or not. So.
Resurrection spell. They had to go to like a whole other realm to like find this item and bring him back.
Made a whole
Okay.
quest
Yeah,
out of it. That's kind of fun.
that quest is pretty cool. So I mean, if they're going through an entire quest line to bring the character back, that's something a little different.
They're
But,
smart too.
yeah.
Now, something I would like to ask is, time is about up, but I feel like if you have it so that you're killing player characters left and right, it becomes a bit hard to get invested in any of them. You know that they're going to get killed off, and it's like, you're not going to get invested in anything.
Right.
So how would you address that?
That's the thing. You don't want to kill player characters left and right. It's not like unless you're playing Call of Cthulhu. Now, if you're playing Call of Cthulhu, that's a completely different matter altogether. But you don't want to kill player characters left and right. You're wanting to let players actually get a little bit invested in their character. And as they become more invested, that's whenever you start ramping up the difficulty and you make it harder to keep those characters alive.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
My character is level 18, and she is my baby, and she will never die. I won't let it happen.
Hey, don't bring her to a game with me.
Okay, you've been warned.
She's kept safe in a bag.
Okay, I see some hands up.
Yes, the funky shirt. It's a good shirt. All right. Here's my hot take. So I played the original Animal Crossing. Well, it wasn't the original. It was like N64, but the one on GameCube. I think they should bring back mean villagers, because let me tell you, it was a wild ride. Like, you would have somebody, you would wear something, it didn't even match, and they would sass you. They'd be like, "Whoa, did you get that from the dollar store?" And I'd be like, "Whoa!" I'd be like, it blew my mind. I was like, I never had an NPC like be mean to me in the game, and I just really liked that. And you could even like hit them with nets and like put them in pitfalls, and they would avoid you. Like, they'd run away from you, and I thought that was awesome. Like, I think it's great if you're like a nemesis in like a friendly like animal village, and they would play these games with you. Like, sometimes they just run up to you and you couldn't avoid them, and they'd be like, "Hey, let's play a game." They'd be like, "Okay, you guess what I'm holding in my hand, and if you win, you get it. And if you lose, I take all your money." And that's literally what happened. Like, you'd be carrying like $90,000 or like, you know, like coins. And they'd be like, "Oh, you guessed wrong. Too bad. Here." And they literally take all your money. And that was insane. I'm like, I want more insane interactions like that in games, especially like village simulators. But that's my hot take.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it sounds like older Animal Crossing messed with the players a lot in a lot of ways. Villagers were mean. You had Mr. Rossetti, of course, who would yell at you and things like that. And,
New Horizons is just too soft. Everyone likes you from the get-go.
I
and
need
it's like,
more
no, it
chaos
has to be
in
earned.
games. Yeah. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Do we have anyone else who would
Do we
like
have
to
any
come up
gaming hot
and say
takes?
something?
Unpopular opinions.
No, nothing?
Ah.
I don't know what people have said already, so I don't know.
If you start repeating yourself, we'll pretend like we haven't heard it before.
I have too many. Like, first off, I don't know. I think Quest 64 is a pretty good game. Like, yeah, dude. Like, it's really pretty, and you can like mix your spells. I love the magic system. It's really cool. I think A Dog's Life is like a brilliantly designed game because it's got like, you know, it's got like something really interesting. Have you ever played A Dog's Life? That was like they did it in the awful block in Games Done Quick, but it's actually a really brilliant game. It's like Banjo-Kazooie, but instead of notes, you've got smells, and instead of jiggies, you've got dog bones. But you don't need like you don't need a certain amount of dog bones to proceed. It's just your power level. So you fight another dog that has a certain amount of bones, and it just gives you an edge if you have like more bones than them. But you can still beat them if you're good. I think like more games need like soft gating like that. It's such a clever game. And
Is
like,
this a game about dog fighting?
no, it's well.
I don't know if I like that.
you don't fight them. You do some kind of like activity like sledding or something.
Oh, okay.
But I don't like experience points, especially when they just give you more strength and HP. It's so boring. Like, I think if you're ever gonna put experience points in a game, it should just gate complexity. So you like allow you to do shit that's more complicated, but not necessarily better. Because like, you know, it's like, especially because like, you know, when you have PvP in these games, it's like, oh well, your character has more numbers than me. That's, you know, it's dumb. But you know, it's better in games like, I guess in Team Fortress 2, like that you can get like just different abilities, so they're not necessarily better. I don't know.
I did always think it was interesting how in Elder Scrolls, it was like you level up by actually using skills, and as you use the skill, you get better at doing that, and when you do that enough, you level up. I think that's kind of interesting.
I want to like that, but I actually hate it because every
Oh.
time I play Elder Scrolls, like Morrowind or whatever, I play like a beast character, and then I walk through a stream, and a fish bites my foot, and I get a level up in unarmored combat. And I'm like, I didn't want this. And then it scales up all the enemies to be stronger just because a fish bit my foot. I'm like, damn it. I jump around, and I get level ups in acrobatics, and now everybody's kicking my ass. You know?
What
I
if you
hate it.
wanted to be bad at something? You're
I
like,
just-
I'm the world's worst juggler, but you keep doing it and you keep leveling up. It's like, no, I want to stay bad at juggling.
You know, it's like, well, experience points I think are terrible, and it's even worse when it makes the enemies level up too, so that you're getting nowhere, and then if you invested them wrong, you're just screwed. You know?
Yeah, and there was some like kind of goofy metagaming going on in older Elder Scrolls games like Morrowind or Oblivion, where you would make the skills that you wanted to use your like minor skills or like skills that were not tied to your level progression, so that those would be high, but the enemy levels would stay low, because that's just how Elder Scrolls worked, and it was kind of janky. But
I kind of hate anything that breaks immersion, and you know, like this is an unpopular opinion, but like I don't like Smash Bros. Melee. I feel like most of the high level
Ooh,
games.
okay, that's a hot take.
Most of the high-level play is based on exploiting glitches in the game that are really immersion-breaking, and it feels like I'm not playing like an immersive game. I'm just sort of playing a weird glitch simulation, you know? Like,
Just who can break this game the most.
but that's the thing. Like, I feel like that happens with most fighting games. Unfortunately, they like high-level play always ends up using things in ways that were completely unintended and don't look right, and it looks weird and jank, and it's really unfortunate. I hope that at some point people make fighting games that don't look weird. Maybe they have. I haven't looked at a lot of fighting games other than Smash Bros, but you know.
They're out there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a hot take in and of
Sure.
itself.
Well, okay, then I don't play fighting games.
you have gone over the time limit,
right.
so thank you for
Yes, thank you very
coming
much.
up. Do we have anyone else who would like to come up and give some hot takes, some spicy spice?
I want to hear more about why you think Smash is not a fighting game. Your
Okay, you've
hand is
been
very
called
tall.
up. Oh wait, who's coming up?
Yes. Okay, wait. Eeny, meeny. Keep your opinion in your head. I'll get to you. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Catch the tiger by the. Okay, it's you.
Okay, you're up next. We're gonna hear about how Smash is not a fighting game or something.
I'm gonna talk about another video game genre, but it's not about fighting games.
Speaking to the mic.
I think visual novels are video games. A lot of people keep saying how
Visual novels
are not games.
are video games, you say?
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like visual novel is one of those genres that gets a lot of flack for whatever reason, because it involves a lot of reading and also like there's graphics going on in the background. But the thing is, people say, hey, just read a book or whatever. But in my opinion, visual novels are it's a very underrated genre, because it has some great art and visual novel that has gameplay elements such as like Phoenix Wright, Danganronpa, and like other etc. They are still have some charming elements on it, and I just think more people should at least give visual novel a chance and don't always think it's like some sort of weird hentai game, because definitely there's a bunch of
A lot of them are weird hentai games, though.
But well, there are really good hentai games that's plot-based. Like there's visual novels that I play for the plot that just happen to have sex scenes that I can just like press control and skip that part and just read what's happening in the story. And this is an excuse for me to say, please check out Marco and the Galaxy Dragon. It's $20 a thing and it's very good. Like,
You might have to say that again.
check out Marco and the Galaxy Dragon. It's a visual novel with animated cutscenes, and they have a very distinct style. Like
almost everything has a CG, and also it has animated cutscenes it's a homage to Western cartoons. So I highly recommend you
neat.
check it out. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right.
Okay,
Awesome.
thank you.
Thank you.
Visual
Okay, sorry.
novels.
Please come up now.
Phoenix Wright is cool.
I love Phoenix Wright. When's the weird anti-Phoenix Wright coming out?
Oh, it exists.
Send me that link after.
Hello.
The drama.
So, like, I'm genuinely of the opinion Smash is not a fighter, especially Melee. Melee specifically is a party game that was turned into a fighting game. You look at it, yeah, it's all the high level techniques are glitches. It's stuff the developers couldn't fix because patches don't exist. And even when you look at it now, there's still a wide divide because the original vision of it being just a dumb party game with Nintendo characters duking it out is still there, but you have to now balance that out with the competitive scene. You know, it's this weird topsy-turvy thing where people who just want to play the game casually now have to contend with decisions being made for the competitive scene. And even the competitive scene, you know, Nintendo does jack all to support it despite everything, you know, because again, they also don't consider Smash to really be a fighting game. They're more or less paying lip service, you know. They willingly put tripping in Brawl because they hated how competitive Melee got because it strayed from the vision, you know? I mean, look, it's a very contentious... I play a ton of fighting games. Smash is something I play for fun, you know? I genuinely don't see how a game where features in the game aren't even used because it would be like you're playing Tekken 7 and there's just a rule that you can't low parry for arbitrary reasons. I don't know. It's. I mean, why not allow items? You know, do they really conflict with the game balance? You know, I mean, it's in the game. You know, would that completely upset the meta if certain characters are found to have like cool item combos? It's just.
It would change the meta.
Probably. But I mean, it's just bizarre to me how you can have features in a game. Like, it's one thing because a lot of fighting games these days tend to have simplified control schemes, but no one's using those competitively because more often than not, those don't even give you full options. But for this, it's like you can't use certain stages, you can't use certain items. In fact, with Ultimate, and I think even before that with 4, you know, they added universal Battlefield and Final Destination variants of all the stages. It's just a weird game series to look at because it's trying to be two different things at once. And it's just weird.
It does seem like the competitive scene is going against the game in a lot of ways.
I mean, but
they're kind of at odds with each other. But
it really is just that bizarre, you know. I
It
mean,
is.
with other fighting games, you know, you really don't see that disconnect. You know, generally speaking, you know, when a new fighting game comes out, you know, have like a big burst of popularity within like the first month or two, and it'll kind of die off. You know, with a lot more of the more serious players sticking around. You know, I mean, I was playing Tekken 7 by myself earlier, waiting for someone to come match me, and I was very sad because no one did. Because Street Fighter 6 is the new hotness.
Yeah.
So,
It's really shiny.
it happens.
yeah, it's really shiny. But I mean, with Smash, it's just, especially Melee. Melee is a dinosaur at this point. Game is probably older than some of the people in this room.
Oh, definitely.
I was like maybe 4 or 5 when it came out. And it just refuses to die. CRTs are going extinct. I know they use specific controllers that have like a specific malfunction because it gives them
that is a thing.
a mechanical
and they go for
advantage.
crazy high prices on like eBay and stuff.
Again, it's no other competitive game has this weird just jank about it. Like he was saying, and this
You
was-
are way over time at this point, by the way. But
I'm sorry. I mean, if anyone else,
sentences.
I'm just saying it's like what you said about how high-level fighting games tend to rely on glitches. As far as I'm aware with Tekken, the only one that really was never intended was Korean backdashing, but that's like a single thing. Tekken is very much focused on combos and juggling and whatnot. I don't really think most modern fighters tend to have weird jank because usually that gets ironed out. But then again, Melee's a dinosaur. It refuses to die.
okay, thank you.
That was beautiful. All right, yes,
Okay.
you're ready. I can't stop
All
you.
right, here we go.
All right, I'm gonna make this quick.
Nice shirt.
Go for it. Go for it.
So my first one will be just a clapback at people saying that Smash isn't a fighting game.
Okay.
Or fighting games are bad because
We've got a fight going on here.
Like, first of all, if you look at the history of fighting games like Street Fighter and all these other games like Tekken, and a lot of the competitive nature that they strung along have come from glitches. Links have come from glitches. The juggles and things have come from glitches. All these things have come from glitches that people enjoyed in the arcades, and they saw that and they're like, huh, that's kind of cool. Let's keep it in there. Sakurai's different because he's like, oh, I want my game to be a party game, so I'm gonna fucking make tripping and shit, you know? But otherwise, all that stuff when it comes to competitive natures and games and stuff, it's literally just developers leaning in to the things that they got wrong that people actually liked. Like somebody mentioned Korean backdashing in Tekken, and like just simple, there's various things in other fighting games that just come from things that happened that wasn't intentional that became really popular amongst people, and they're like, oh cool, let's put that back in. That's the same thing Smash did. They're like, okay, let's kind of add wave dashing back. But besides that, my actual, unpopular opinion is I think escort missions are some of the best missions in RPGs.
Ooh, okay, that is a hot take.
Yeah. Like, if you're playing RE4 and Ashley keeps dying, it's a skill issue. I'm sorry. Like, it's a skill issue.
Wait, hold on. Whose skill issue is it? Is it Leon's skill issue or is it Ashley's skill issue?
I mean, even though like Ashley is like literally a piece of shit and just keeps but like at the same time, you as the hero have to be that good. Like it kind of puts you at a level where you have to think more than just about you blazing through the level or blazing through everything. Like you have to actually be good enough to defend yourself and another person who is more than likely defenseless in most of these cases. So I think it enhances sort of a level of gaming where you can actually put out enough for you and other, and that also feeds into games like team-based, any sort of multiplayer game like Overwatch or Apex or all these games that people play in teams. Like, if you're that kind of, if you have that kind of tunnel vision where you can't defend a defenseless person, you are never snowballing in League. You're never snowballing in Overwatch. You're never winning games in like any team-based fighter. And I think escort missions are a really good example of teaching you that. But I digress.
Thank you.
Do you have any other like escort missions that you can think of that you really like besides Resident Evil 4?
One of my favorite games as of late is Dragon's Dogma.
Oh, okay.
And there's a lot of escort missions in that game.
Interesting.
But you know what's cool about it though? They'll take you to a place in that escort mission and dump you in a place you've never been. And you're like, wow, I didn't even think to check this place out. The only reason why I know about this place is because I escorted some dumb kid to go up this mountain that I would have never went up. And it's just like, I think escort missions are cool.
Yeah, so it kind of like builds in escorting with exploration. That's pretty cool.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, Dragon's Dogma is definitely one I've wanted to get into.
You forget the fact that in Dragon's Dogma, you could literally just pick up people.
That too. I forgot that
makes it
exists.
better.
I love that fact though.
3 dudes, like
That helps.
AI is like fairly good for a game that's over a decade old.
Oh yeah.
And if you have good pawns, you don't even have
Oh
to
my
worry about
god.
fighting.
You can literally, especially like if you have a really good main pawn, like you literally just walk up and you're like, oh, a goblin, and then boom, meteor, dead, and you're like, wow, I didn't have to pull out my sword. Okay, cool, let's go. You know?
All right.
I absolutely love that game. But anyway,
Yes, thank you for coming up. I see we have at
I
least
saw a
one
hand.
person who wants
you
to.
still want to go? No? Okay.
No, don't want to
Well,
come up anymore?
I have an opinion about escort missions.
Okay.
I don't like when you walk too fast and they make you start over because you were walking too fast, and then you don't learn your lesson till like the third time because you're like, I just want to get there. It's not my fault that the NPC is like going at 2 miles an hour and I go 7. You know.
And it's definitely always annoying when like they have, especially even not necessarily escort missions, but like if you and another character are talking with each other, but like your walk speed is not the same as theirs, so you always have to do this thing where you're like doing your little jog and you get like 10 feet in front of them and then you have to like stop and wait for them to catch up or something.
It's the worst. It's my least favorite.
Yeah. Does anyone else want to come up here?
Yes.
Hello, come on up.
You're very brave. Thank you. Come on up. You can tilt it too.
Yeah.
What I hate a lot is silent self-insert protagonists in RPGs.
Silent protagonists, you don't like them.
Well, in RPGs, like
Yes.
like in Mario, I don't care. He's
Yeah.
just jumping. But in RPGs, I'm just a delivery guy, going from place to place. No opinions, no reactions or anything. It's just, oh, your dad died. Okay, let's go kill the fucker.
Thanks.
That's it.
I get 50 experience points because his dad died.
Yeah, and it's like I don't expect like one big complicated story where you can do anything, but I just want some opinions where I'm like, wait, so why do I have to kill that guy again at the very least? You know, or just being like, can't you do it yourself? Even if in the end I do have to kill the guy. And I guess that's it for me.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen a lot of memes about that, especially with like the newer Pokemon games, where all these things are happening and the main character is just kind of like blankly staring at everything. Yeah, with the default smile on their face. It's like, okay, kind of a sociopath there. All right.
Do we have
thank
any other
you for
hot
coming up.
takes?
I see a hand.
Go for it. You can come up multiple times. I don't give a heck.
No one else is jumping up here. Come on. Yeah, it doesn't have to be all gaming.
If you insult my favorite anime, though, I will cry.
Oh.
Does anybody care about spoilers for Spider-Man Across the Multiverse?
Ooh, Across the
Raise your hand.
Spider-Verse?
That is fresh.
Has anyone not seen Spider-Verse who still really wants to?
Have we all already seen Spider-Verse? Yeah, okay,
That's
great.
good. Okay, yeah, I think you're in the clear.
All right,
it's good
so-
that everyone has seen Spider-Verse. That movie's incredible.
The multiverse theory, right, asserts that there are infinite possibilities and infinite universes, right? I hate the execution of the multiverse theory in both Across the Spider-Verse and Rick and Morty, okay? Like, it is such a cop-out. It's like, it is a cop-out to the entire thing. If you're gonna do it right. For Rick and Morty, why is Rick the most special Rick, all right? And Across the Spider-Verse, why is Miles Morales the most special one? The multiverse theory asserts that for every competent Rick, there should be an infinite amount of Ricks as competent as him. But no, our Rick is the most competent one, the scariest one, the smartest one. The other Ricks, like chaff, like minions or whatever. Miles Morales, they assert that he was the only one that got bit by a spider from another universe.
Mm-hmm.
If the multiverse theory, if they actually want to touch on the multiverse theory, then there should technically be infinite Miles Morales. But there isn't. There is one. It's lazy writing. It's a cop-out. And I hate how they do it. And that is my thing. Like, that is my hot take. Like, there's so many Spider-Mans. There's so many quirky, funny Spider-Mans. But our protagonist should not be the most special one. I want a multiverse theory. I want a show that touches on a multiverse theory that actually addresses this point. That he is just one in literally an infinite amount. There should be a infinite Miles Morales. There you go. That's my take.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to build off of that. unless you all want to build off of it first.
I was going to ask, how do you feel about the Jet Li movie, One?
I don't know about that one. What's up with it?
So the idea is that there's an infinite number of multiverses, but for every version of Jet Li that dies, all the others become stronger.
Like Highlander?
So he's jumping from multiverse to the evil Jet Li is jumping from
Okay.
multiverse to multiverse, killing all the rest of himself, so he can like become basically.
Isn't that like in?
All right, I feel like that's a cool thing. But like, is there only one evil
like the
Jet Li
Highlander.
that's killing everyone, or is there like a Jet Li that's killing it, and also more Jet Lis that are also killing more of them, and like it's like building on each other? Because for every evil Jet Li, there should be more evil Jet Lis, right?
Well, presumably, but he's killed them all.
So, it has a little bit more thought than Rick and Morty and Across the Spider-Verse. I accept you, but
Put that
that
in
is
the
still
box.
only
A little more thought
really
than
the
Rick and
only
Morty.
Jet Li that decides to start killing others, right? You know. All right. Anyway,
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you want to start calling, or do you want?
Yeah,
I just want to talk about Spider-Verse. Across the Spider-Verse contradicts itself because one, it implies that all of the Spider-Man media that we have seen as a culture is canon, right?
in
and-
some universe or another, yeah.
And in one scene, Genki is playing the Spider-Man PS4 game. And in the Spider-Man PS4 games, that Miles Morales also has spider powers. It writes itself, baby.
I don't know. If you do it right, right? Yeah.
Anytime you introduce an infinite element, you always have infinite complexity that can never be resolved. That's why in Star Trek and in Futurama, they have one alternate universe. The evil universe and the cowboy
Yeah.
Yeehaw, baby!
They know the limitations of the multiverse, right? And they like contain it. That's cool.
Yeah, so I'd like to maybe push back on that a little bit.
Ooh.
Given that the protagonist is normally the peak of any given character, and given that a standard distribution of data will always have a top point, then it follows that the protagonist would be that top point. And not only that, but
It wouldn't make a lot of sense to follow just like a normal person as your protagonist, right? Like,
All right.
So it follows that like the top data point would be the protagonist.
yeah.
And kind of like with the Fermi paradox, there's a bubble of influence. Like there's a certain like sphere of influence that any given universe will have, because you can't fit an infinite amount of characters in a given space. So it follows that you will have a finite amount of data points, and the top data point will be the protagonist.
I mean,
Okay.
it wasn't the main character.
I also took statistics long ago.
It's just like that.
Yeah, I know they wanted to write like the story with him
There are
as a
certain-
special guy, but I don't know.
There are
It's
certain
so-
contrivances you kind of have to just allow for with storytelling.
suspension of belief. And
Yeah.
It's still my gripe. It's still my hot take.
I understand. I understand.
Okay, why do I care about Miles Morales? It's like, there's a million Miles Morales. I'm like, okay, turn off the movie. Like,
I don't know. There's a million Peter Parkers, but we still care about most of them. So.
and that's what makes for the storytelling, because that one is the one that you're invested. If you can't get invested into the main character because there's a million of them, then it's like, okay, I don't want to watch
Does anyone else have anything else to say, or are we gonna keep talking about Spider-Man?
Yeah, I love it.
You can sit down if you want.
I mean, I have a very, very spicy hot take about G-Witch. Anyone has watched Gundam Witch from Mercury?
Gundam Witch from
I would
Mercury.
love to hear it coming up.
Yeah, sure. Anyone who cares about Gundam Witch from Mercury spoilers, just avert your ears, close your eyes,
I'm
what
actually
have
going
you.
to try to avoid spoilers.
Okay. It probably won't make sense to anyone who hasn't actually seen it. So
Okay, well, I hope people have, but my whole thing is, this might not even necessarily be like a big hot take, but like in general, it's just wasted potential, and like it's good, but the way a lot of people talk about it online make it sound like it's the best thing ever, when it's just good. I wouldn't even. There's a lot of ups and downs in Gundam as a meta franchise. I think G-Witch is definitely better than Iron-Blooded Orphans, because Iron-Blooded Orphans' whole writing staff hated the main characters. It really shows, especially when it comes down to the final. They claim that they wanted to write a gritty gangland story instead of a war story. But even still, there's just a lot of stuff about the final where it's like, it just seems mean and spiteful. My problem with G-Witch is that when I say it's wasted potential, is that it's only 24/5 episodes if you count the prologue.
You should.
And it's weird to me because it felt like they were building up to something really great, and it then did the thing Darling in the Franxx did, where they realized they had to wrap up the plot in the last 4 episodes, so they just started. I mean, Darling in the Franxx is way worse. At least G-Witch didn't seem to like get distracted with its own story, because Darling in the Franxx has like 7 or 8 episodes of like slice of life shenanigans before they just remember they have to finish it. With G-Witch, it's just they didn't have enough time, and I'm really surprised with how popular it was. It only got limited to 24 episodes. I mean, it's wasted potential. It's like there's barely any mobile suit action in a Gundam show, and I'm not one of those people who goes, wow, cool robot. Like, some of the best Gundam content is when characters are literally just talking. But even in this, you have an entire, my opinion, episode 15 is the best. It's set on Earth. It really puts you in the heart of the conflict that can be applicable to today in terms of like class warfare. You know, how the elite oppress the poor. And my opinion, that's the best episode because it really puts you into the heart of that conflict. That's kind of in the background. And then after that episode, it goes back in the background. The romance elements are really underdeveloped. I get Japan is a traditionally conservative country, so having a more explicit romance between 2 women might not necessarily have gone well. But to put it in perspective, the last Gundam show, IBO, had straight up polyamory, and it's implied that the main character laid pipe in his Gundam and got one of his 2 girlfriends pregnant, who, by the way, they end that show married to each other, because
okay,
yeah,
that sounds
like
exciting.
but like I said, you know, it's I noticed this is that not a single time in the entire show do either the female leads say "I love you" or share a kiss. They kind of spoiler. They skip over the wedding, right? Like they end up together, but they skip over the wedding, and it just feels like, as contentious as this might sound, it's like almost like Yuri bait. Like, it was like really just kind of like people took what they could get. And I feel like in terms of progressive representation in anime, we've gotten a lot better about it. So for this show that billed itself as a romance between 2 women from basically the very beginning, it was almost like people just kind of like settled.
Okay.
I'm going to jump off your hot take with another hot take here. Why are you talking about Gundam whenever it hasn't been relevant since 8th MST?
Gundam, which
you're
from
one of
Mercury
those.
just
You're one of
finished
those.
airing. That was from this year.
Yeah, that's kind of a thing though. Is it sounds like you've watched a fair amount of other Gundam shows.
I have.
A lot, maybe even. I feel like Gundam Witch from Mercury brought in a lot of new fans.
It did.
Who have never even seen any Gundam before, or like hardly any mecha before. So that's probably where a lot of like this sentiment online that it maybe overrating it perhaps could be coming from, is people who just haven't watched a lot of other
Right,
mecha before,
but-
so it's all new to them. But
for me, that's also, it's like, I feel like Witch from Mercury is going to be a show like Darling in the Franxx, and especially like Ava, where it's the show where non-mecha fans watch because they'll say it's about the characters. The worst thing you can ever say about anything mecha related is, oh, I don't like it because it's just giant robots fighting. Like Gundam, going as far back as the original Mobile Suit Gundam, was very much character driven.
Yeah.
And this is kind of my problem, not necessarily with Witch from Mercury itself, but the people who bring it in, who get brought in, because I know a lot of them aren't going to watch other mecha shows. I mean, if you really, really love romance stuff then you would love Macross. You know, but
Yeah.
Macross, literally, the movie. Do you remember Love, right? It's about how love can end a big, dumb, eons-long intergalactic war. You know, that's kind of like, because mecha has been on the decline. This is no secret. You know, they make less and less mecha content. It just, like, I'm glad Witch from Mercury did well, but then the fact that immediately after it ended, they announced the Seed movie. I was like, oh, this.
Yeah, where did that come from?
That movie's been in production for like 20 years.
Oh my God, that makes sense because that's when Seed aired.
I don't even want to talk about Seed because I'll
okay.
go on a tangent.
Yeah, you are way over time.
That's okay. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
G,
see.
I know your time is precious. What do you got for us? Yeah.
Okay, it's a simple one. Simple.
Come on up, talking to the microphone. We
Hi.
have like 5 minutes left.
Don't worry, I'll make this quick. Any Mortal Kombat fans here?
Okay.
Mortal Kombat's greater emphasis on story is sabotaged by the emphasis of the fatality.
I think I know what you're saying.
Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Does anyone know? Okay, for who here thinks fighting games are bad at telling stories? Wrong! Fighting games are good at telling contextual stories. You're playing Dan, your buddy's playing Sagat. Sagat is bodying you, but you, at the last minute, pull out a win. The story of that match, Sagat got too overconfident, Dan wins. That's the story. Ryu and Ken fist bumping. What's the story of that? A friendly spar. Guile versus Bison. The story of that? Arch rivals based off the intro. Problem with Mortal Kombat, they go, hey, Sonya, I'm Johnny Cage, I'm flirting. I'm Sonya, I don't know about that. Maybe we should see after dinner. And then the match ends with Johnny Cage ripping Sonya's head off.
It does put a damper on things, doesn't it?
Replace all fatalities with the friendships.
But literally, that's like, no one sees this. They'd be like, hey, buddy, never seen you before. What's up, bro? I love with you all. Fatality. Well, that just kind of negated everything. That's it.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
We have time for one?
I think we have time for at least one more.
Okay.
I'll do it. I'll make it super quick.
Yeah, go for it.
You're
Come
okay.
on up.
I saw you as well. We can get to you as well.
Super quick.
Keep it quick.
I think The Last of Us 2 was better than The Last of Us 1 in every way.
Ooh.
Including the story beats that were added, including the ending, including every little bit was better than The Last of Us 1. And so yeah, you know, I've debated about this plenty, but
Okay.
The Last of Us 2
yes,
is
there's
so
been a lot of debate about Last of Us 2. I feel like
0 out of 10, and I'm like, you're an idiot.
I feel like any opinion about Last of Us 2 is an unpopular opinion at this point.
It's so divisive. You can't win.
Yeah. Do we have anyone else?
Yeah, you wanted to say your piece? And
Yeah.
then that'll probably be it for today.
Okay.
Watch out.
So
Come on up.
I'll keep this one brief, but I think Mario 64 is a little overrated.
Ooh.
Just the camera controls and movement, I don't know. It just never really clicked with me personally. I can't give a good reason as to the movement. It's just like, I think it's just most of the time when I was playing, I was struggling with the camera.
Can I ask when the first time you played it was?
First time I played it was a couple years ago.
Okay,
So
that makes a big difference.
I did not grow up with it. But yeah, that's about it.
That's it.
That's all I can give.
Okay.
See, I played that game at like 4 years old, and I really loved squishing Mario's face around. I thought it was a 10 out of 10 game.
We have like a minute or two left. If anyone else has something really quick they want to come up and say.
Speed run. I'm looking at you in the green.
Yeah. Whoa.
The whole fit is green. I love it.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so my unpopular opinion. I feel like this may be an internet unpopular opinion. I'm not sure who else would agree, but quality over quantity, especially with the Pokemon games. We
Yeah.
do not need a
Yeah.
Pokemon game every year. Please slow down. I can't keep up. I am somebody who likes to take my time with games, and every time a Pokemon game comes out, I am just sped run out of competition by everyone around me who finishes it in like maybe a couple weeks or less. And I'm just out here like still on maybe the first or second gym at that time. And it's like, come, please, slow down, please.
Would you be okay with more Pokemon games by different studios or different genres?
Possibly. That might be
Yeah,
something
man.
to consider.
Like-
Yeah, like I would say like Legends Arceus was a very nice game. Like I really enjoyed that one, especially as like, you know, something that kind of branched out a little bit with the Pokemon games. But yeah.
I love the new
That is
Pokemon
that is
Snap.
my opinion.
Yes, thank you.
All right, and it is 4:30. It is 4:30. I think that is all the time we have. So thank you all for coming. Thank you all for sharing
if
your
we don't get out, G's gonna tase us.
unpopular opinions.